you guys? This is Sarah Ripple with Ripple Effect Fitness, and today I'm going to talk about the sprinter stance squat. This is a variation that I've been using very often here in my gym with my clients as well as with myself. I've found it to be very beneficial over something as simple as a goblet squat or even a goblet squat to a box, which I also utilize in here. So the main reason that I love this variation is that it's an asymmetrical stance. So if you've got somebody that has a little bit of a strength imbalance or a mobility imbalance between the left and right sides, it can kind of work on addressing that. In addition, and even more so, the impact that I like of this variation is the fact that that asymmetrical stance itself pretty much seems to make people squat better. I've found that it's easier for people who struggle with just a regular body weight squat or even a goblet squat, which tends to work for a lot of people because the load is placed in front, fires up the core a bunch, gets people to just get in a better alignment and do the squat better. Okay, so goblet squats are great. But I've found that the sprinter stance squat, it works better for people. It helps them squat in a better way without really thinking about it, okay? So in a nutshell, what we're doing with a sprinter stance squat is if you take your squat stance, okay, so which for most people is going to be hip width or slightly wider, toes slightly flared out for most people. So if you take that squat stance, what we're going to do is we're going to slide one foot back to where the ball of the foot is in line with the heel, okay? So I'm going to show from this angle as well as another how that's going to look, but you're going to pick that heel up on the foot that you slid back and keep it up, okay? If you let that heel drop close to the floor as you're doing these, you're going to notice it just doesn't feel right. So keeping that heel up is super, super important, okay? And so from there, all we're doing is just thinking knees out and dropping down into a squat, knees out the whole time, coming up, okay? So to show y'all from this angle, we're just sliding that foot back, okay? Keeping that heel up, and then just dropping down. So the flat foot is the leg that's doing the bulk of the work. You can consider the foot that slid back is kind of it's helping out as far as balance goes. It's also getting some benefit too, but the bulk of the work is being done with this side that's not slid back. Okay, so with that said, what we can consider with this is that it is a unilateral variation. So that's awesome. Again, going back to what I said at the beginning of this video, if somebody has an imbalance between left and right, we can work on that a little bit more. But then also too, because of that unilateral kind of effect, it puts the pelvis in a position that kind of neutralizes it, okay? So when a lot of people squat, they'll tend to not be able to really control if they tilt the pelvis forward excessively. It's hard for them to contain this canister, so to speak, of the torso, okay? So ribs will flare open, pelvis dumps forward. If we're bracing properly, which again, like I said earlier, can be done with a goblet squat because we're putting the load in the front, it'll address keeping this all in line, okay? So that can be a beneficial thing for people just doing a regular squat. But with this asymmetrical stance, you will find that it kind of takes care of any potential of that kind of dumping forward to happen in the first place, just because it's putting that pelvis in a position that's going to kind of neutralize it, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show a few variations that can help you progress with the sprinter stance squat using an ultimate sandbag, which is my personal favorite tool to use for a lot of exercises in here lately, especially for the sprinter stance squat. I'll have people do the sprinter squat with kettlebells and a goblet hold or racked. So I'm not saying that those tools are necessarily bad by any means or not as effective. I've just found that the sandbag variations just work better and they help people do things with better form and technique, all right? So the progression that I like to follow, once somebody has mastered just a body weight sprinter stance squat, and actually just right off the bat pretty much, is a bear hug position, okay? So the cool thing about this is the position itself puts the load close to the body, so it's almost like your body and the weight become a unit, which I've found to be the case with all of the sandbag variations that I've been using. So one of the big concepts in the DVRT teachings is that you can create tension through the sandbag, and in doing that, it's going to fire up a lot of muscles that may not be used as much during other variations. So with the bear hug, what's cool is that we're going to grab the sandbag and rip it apart this way and clutch it close to the body. So again, we're getting the weight and it's becoming essentially part of your body itself. But in gripping it and pulling it this way, what we're doing is we're getting the lats to engage, and we're helping stabilize and improve the squat itself in the sprinter stance from the top down, in addition to kind of thinking about everything from the bottom up, doing what it needs to do to make the squat better, okay? So for a bear hug, it's not too complicated. We're taking the sandbag, and you're going to grip the sides of it with the opposite hand, okay? And then hug it to you. So I'm pulling the bag into me, okay? And holding it this way. I'm not holding it up here and shrugging up and using a lot of my upper traps, okay? You'll notice I have it kind of set down on my body so that I can chill up here with my shoulders and traps. So using this position, we're going to get in our sprinter stance. And a lot of people that might find it difficult to squat with body weight or even a goblet squat, you will see them be able to just drop down into the hole, so to speak, using this bear hug position, okay? So it's awesome. Really, 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 really love that one. Okay, the other variation that I like using the sandbag with the sprinter squat is a shouldered position. Okay, I also will do a front rack position on these. So with that, we could either go with fists, okay, or resting it against the shoulders, okay? But for the shouldered variation, what we're gonna do, we'll take the sandbag and bring it up to the shoulder, and then the leg that we are sliding backwards is gonna be the same side as the sandbag, okay? So the neat thing about this variation is that it's challenging us in the frontal plane, okay? So we're getting some good incorporation of more than just the sagittal plane, which is front and back. Typically what we do most in everyday life and in the gym, sagittal plane is what most exercises will fall under that category. So frontal plane is important because we're working a lot of muscles that help stabilize the pelvis from moving side to side. So if you're a runner, basically when you run, you don't want a lot of this action going on, okay? It's just bad. So we're working muscles that help control that. So in a nutshell, sprinter stance squat, sandbag shoulder is another great variation. So to wrap this up, sprinter stance squats, again, this is one of my favorite variations of the squat to teach my clients here in the gym, as well as for myself. I have a long history with having low back issues, okay? Lately, I've had a very good run. I don't want to jinx myself, so knock on wood, but got a very nice mattress. That's super important. I've been changing up stuff I've been doing in the gym. I haven't been doing a lot of repetitive motions that tend to aggravate that, but I feel pretty balanced out lately. I've found for myself that the sprinter stance squat it's just been one of those things that makes me feel better. Like I said earlier, I found this variation to help people squat better and feel better in doing so, and that's a win-win for me in the books, because if I can get my clients moving better sooner, that means that their long-term success is going to be a lot less of a bumpy road. It's going to be a lot more enjoyable, less issues down the road if movement mechanics and any issues that come up as far as technique goes, anything like that, we pretty much kind of deal with on the back end so we can move forward. Okay, so y'all have a great day. We'll catch y'all next time.